Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gash, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gash Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash.
Good evening, this is Star TV News and I am Maria Madam. Thanks for joining us. In the headlines tonight, President Barrow visits Kanilai. Special Representative of UN Secretary General meets President Barrow. National Council for Arts and Culture finishes 5-day training on museum management and oral history. On the international scene, Pfizer seeks US COVID vaccine approval for children aged 5 to 11. Croatia greets Romania illegally posting refugees back. Kenyan researchers celebrate WHO approval of new malaria vaccine. Those were the headlines and now the news in detail. President Adama Barrow, on his way to Basse for the inauguration of the URR Roads projects, made his first appearance in Kanilai to meet up with the family of the former President Yahya Jammeh. This was his first visit to Kanilai since he assumed office in 2017. Let's have a listen to what President Barrow had to say about the visit.
Basically, my coming here is to come and inspect the school that is here. That's why I am here. But this is the former, former village of the former president. The former president's village. If I come to this village, if I come for any purpose, it is important for me to come and see his family, especially his immediate family. Out of respect, out of courtesy, that's why I come to see the family. Because as Gambians, we are all the same. And he is former president. Obviously, he deserves respect from every Gambian, especially me as president of the Republic now. What I told the family is, every position, one day the position will finish. It's either you retire, or you are sacked from the position, or you die. Even me, I'll be one day former president. But I think every Gambian deserves respect. Out of that respect and courtesy, that's why I said I have to come and see the family. And I'm very happy that I've seen the family. They received me very well. And obviously, we are talking about reconciliation. This is part of reconciliation. Try to reconcile everybody, reconcile the entire Gambian people and the family of the former president. So definitely, basically, the purpose of my visit is to come and see the family.
His Excellency President Adama Barrow on Thursday received in Mohamed Salih Anadif, who is a special representative of the UN Secretary General for West Africa and the Sahel. The visit at the presidency aimed to discuss initiatives geared towards ensuring a peaceful electoral process in December. Speaking shortly after the meeting with President Barrow, Mr. Anadif said that his discussions with the president centered on the upcoming elections, as his delegation will be meeting all relevant stakeholders to ensure that every party has the same agenda of conducting a peaceful electoral process. Anadif also expressed his satisfaction with the peaceful nature in which the registration process was conducted. He said that 57% of women and 58% of youth registered to vote demonstrates the Gambian people's commitment to this democratic process. The National Center for Arts and Culture has finished a 5-day training workshop on museum management and history. The workshop, organized by the NCAC in conjunction with the Austrian Embassy, trained 30 museum personnel across the country. Jacqueline Colley has more.
The training is geared towards advancing the technical know-how of museum staff on museum conservation, exhibition design, tour guiding, and oral history. This was the first time museum personnel have been trained on management and oral history to help preserve the museum and its artifacts. Mr. Hassum Cisse, the Director General of the National Center for Arts and Culture, said the last constructive training of museum personnel in the Gambia was conducted 17 years ago. He said there is a decline in museum training in Africa, as he emphasized the importance on the just concluded workshop. Mrs. Fatima Fanyang, the lead trainer from Senegal, said the time frame of the workshop was rather too short, but nonetheless, they covered the most essential parts of the training as the participants were up for the task. She said they covered a wide range of development ranging from heritage, documentation, exhibition, and preservative conservation. Salma Sarr, who participated in the training, highlighted its importance and how it will benefit her and her colleagues in preserving the museum's heritage. Mamadou Tarawale from Jufure, Albreda, said the training came at the right time because most of his colleagues and him have never had a training on museum management, the preservative methods, and exhibition designs. He highlighted that the training will add value to their work in their various museums. Tarawale urged the NCAC to organize more sessions of the training to help build the capacity of the tour guides and other personnel. Jacqueline Colley for Star TV News.
Those were the local stories. We'll be back with the international after this commercial break.
Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulanding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gosh, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gosh Group also provides the best security company, Gosh Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gosh Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gosh on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gosh Global Group on Bertel Harding Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.goshglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh.
Welcome back after the commercial break. If you are just tuning in, this is Star TV News from our studios here in Serekunda. And now in the international news, parents across the United States are debating whether to get their children vaccinated. It comes after Pfizer requested permission from U.S. drug regulators to offer its COVID-19 jab to children as young as 5 years old. Al Jazeera's Heidi Zou Castro reports from Washington, D.C.
Pfizer is now seeking FDA emergency use authorization for its COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 5 to 11. If authorized, this would be the first COVID-19 vaccine available to younger children.
Right now, the Pfizer vaccine is fully approved for those aged 16 and older, has emergency use authorization for ages 12 to 15. In effect, all those people 12 and up can be vaccinated. Here's the question. When for 5 and 11-year-olds? 5 to 11-year-olds. CNN senior medical correspondent Elizabeth Cohen joins us now. Elizabeth, there had been talk about possible approval before Halloween. Does this mean that timeline is possible?
It's certainly more likely, Jim, knowing that they have applied for their emergency use authorization for children ages 5 to 11. It makes that timeline much more likely. The reason we know that is when you look at the timeline for adults, how quickly that got approved, that tells you something. It doesn't tell you everything. Children may take longer, but we know that FDA advisors are meeting next week. And let's take a look at how quickly this happened for adults. So for adults, Pfizer applied for an emergency use authorization November 20th of last year. In other words, what happened today happened on November 20th last year for adults, and they received their emergency use authorization 3 weeks later on December 11th. That's how quickly it happened. Again, it doesn't mean it'll happen that quickly with children, but this gives you sort of a feeling for it. Now let's take a look about what we know about the efficacy of this vaccine in children. So Pfizer did a clinical trial. They had about 2,200 participants. They were given, these children ages 5 to 11, were given a dose that was 1/3 the dose given to adults. Pfizer says that the vaccine generated safe and robust antibody response. Now, it doesn't mean the children were protected from COVID. We don't know that yet. The FDA knows it, and we will know that soon, but we do know that they had antibodies. Soon we'll find out, did those antibodies work?
And joining us more to talk about this is Jeff Zients. He is the White House COVID-19 response coordinator. Jeff, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Brianna.
Okay, first things first, we are seeing here that Pfizer has now applied for emergency use authorization for its vaccine for children age 5 to 11. Can you give us an update on how this affects the timeline for people that age?
Brianna, I think we can all agree that getting a safe and effective vaccine for kids 5 to 11 is a really important next step in our fight against the virus. And this is an important development this morning. Pfizer's applying for emergency use authorization. The FDA has scheduled time to review this with its advisory panel at the end of the month. That would be followed by the CDC's recommendation. So it's dependent upon the science and the medicine and the FDA and the CDC's actions, but those are all at the end of the month. And if there is approval or authorization and a CDC recommendation, we are ready. We have the supply. We're working with states to set up convenient locations for parents and kids to get vaccinated, including pediatricians' offices and community sites. So we'll be ready pending the CDC and FDA action.
You think this could begin before Thanksgiving?
Again, up to the FDA and CDC scientific processes, but yes, it could, and we will be ready as soon as the FDA and CDC give the go-ahead.
Okay, and look, I know you've been looking at some of these poll numbers about parents and whether they're willing to vaccinate their kids. And what we've seen is that there are parents who may not be vaccine hesitant for adults or for themselves, but when it comes to their kids, they are approaching this with more hesitancy. How do you combat that?
Well, there are a lot of parents who are ready to have their 5 to 11-year-olds vaccinated. And as I said, we'll be ready pending CDC and FDA recommendations to do just that. As the vaccine was introduced back in December, the level of questions and confidence was lower. And what we've seen is across time, it has grown. We now have 78% of adult Americans with at least one shot. I would anticipate that as parents and their children have questions of their pediatricians and other local health professionals, and they get those questions answered, that more and more parents and kids will want their kids to get vaccinated.
Yeah, I'm in line, ready for it. I cannot wait. You can't stop me. So ahead of the president's visit here to Chicago, you have some new research that you've been looking at that shows something about vaccine mandates and how that works. What can you tell us?
Well, the president has a 6-part plan to accelerate our path out of the pandemic. A cornerstone of that plan is getting the unvaccinated vaccinated. The president did a lot across the last many months to make vaccines readily available, convenient at over 80,000 locations. States offered incentives, and the president decided a month or two ago that it was time to have vaccine requirements to get that final group of people vaccinated. And what we're seeing is that the early movers on vaccine requirements are having really strong results. Vaccine rates up 25% into 90+% of people vaccinated. So vaccine requirements work. They're also good for the economy, and it gets people back into the workplace. Economists have estimated that up to 5 million more people will be able to join the labor force. And we all know from our own personal habits, consumer spending, going to restaurants, going to local small businesses, as we beat the virus, as we accelerate our path out of the pandemic, there'll be more consumer spending, which helps strengthen the economy. And the last point I'd make is that vaccine requirements are widely supported by businesses. Over 25% of businesses already have put together their vaccine requirement plans and are implementing them. Labor unions, universities, healthcare systems all support vaccination requirements, as does the majority of the American public. So vaccine requirements work, they're good for the economy, and they're widely supported.
The question now is, how far will government go in implementing these? And, you know, in our neighbor, Canada, the Prime Minister just announced a requirement for passengers and for staff, air and rail travel. They have to be vaccinated, and this is going into effect the end of next month. Is this something the U.S. needs to do?
So vaccine requirements that the president's talking about today are for the workforce, covering 100 million workers. That's 2 out of 3 of all workers in the U.S. And we believe that's a very effective and efficient way to implement vaccine requirements. As you know, on airplanes, people are required to mask. Just last month, as part of the president's plan, the fine for not masking was doubled. What I will say is that every lever that we can pull is on the table as a possibility here. So we'll continue to look at ways to ensure that more and more Americans get vaccinated.
We look at the major carriers. You see Delta does not have a vaccine requirement for its staff. You look at United and others, they do, and the numbers don't lie. It tells you that it works because Delta has a significantly lower number of staff that is vaccinated. So, I mean, it works, right? It works, so why not implement that?
It really works. United is headquartered in Chicago, so the United CEO will be with the president today. United has 99% of its 67,000 workers have now gotten vaccinated. And many, many airlines have followed suit. As you mentioned, Delta has not yet put in place a requirement. We would encourage all airlines and all large employers to have vaccine requirements.
Do you think the U.S. will more than encourage that they may require them, and not just the major carriers, all carriers at some point?
Well, we have done these types of requirements. As you mentioned, the Department of Labor for all employers greater than 100. If you want to contract with the federal government, which the major airlines do, you have to have a vaccination requirement. All of your employees need to be vaccinated. All federal employees need to be vaccinated. Healthcare workers need to be vaccinated based on the president's actions. So the vaccine requirements, as I said, cover 2 out of 3 workers across the economy and certainly cover the airlines.
All right, Jeff Zients, thank you so much, White House COVID-19 Response Coordinator. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Brianna.
Crucio has launched an investigation into the alleged beatings of migrants by its border police. The probe comes a day after journalists published the results of an 8-month investigation. This report by Al Jazeera's Laura Borden-Manley contains footages which you may find disturbing.
They were on the move from Bosnia to Croatia, hoping to make a better life across the border in the EU. But this is what met the migrants before they were forced back to Bosnia.
They take everything, shoes, jacket, money, mobile phone, everything they take it. You see this, you see our back, arm, everything, they're beating very badly. So we request our European Union, so what is this? We are human, not animal.
The video was released as part of an investigation into the treatment and systematic pushback of migrants along Croatia's 1,000-kilometre border. The migrants, mostly from Afghanistan and Pakistan, showed the marks from their violent encounters. They say they were accosted by 16 people who brutally beat them and put them into a windowless van. They were driven back into Bosnia. Croatian authorities deny involvement and say they are investigating the incident.
Should some kind of exceeding of authority happen anywhere, not just on the border, Croatian police and the Interior Ministry punishes up to 400 of its members annually for such reasons. We will continue to do so because it is the right thing to do, according to the law.
Croatian police have often been accused of targeting and beating migrants. Amnesty International has accused European Union governments of turning a blind eye, but not this time.
Some of these reports are shocking, and I'm extremely concerned about these reports that have been recently published. Of course, this needs to be investigated, but they seem to indicate some kind of orchestration of violence at our external borders.
Rights groups estimate there are currently around 10,000 migrants in Bosnia. Many are in government-run camps, others sleep where they can, from abandoned buildings to the streets. Many have spent months or even years attempting to cross the border from the northwestern part of the country, an effort they refer to as the game.
I spent 2 years in Bosnia. I was deported from Trieste, 2 times deported from Trieste. I forgot how many times I crossed border. I didn't count, maybe 35, 36 times.
And do they beat you every time? Or
No, they didn't beat every time. So this is my first time they beat.
Many of these people dream of reaching Croatia, and despite the brutal beatings, say they'll keep trying. Laura Bowden-Manley, Al Jazeera.
Researchers and health professionals are celebrating the World Health Organization's approval of a new malaria vaccine. It is especially welcome news in Kenya, which participated in the studies that helped bring about the jab. Al Jazeera's Malcolm Webb reports from Nairobi, Kenya.
It's taken more than a century for humankind to develop this, the world's first malaria vaccine. The World Health Organization has given it the go-ahead. What began as a trial here in Western Kenya is set to become an official rollout across the continent. It's given to children under 2 years, and parents like Phoebe Watende are pleased.
In our family, we have had a lot of malaria-related problems. Some members have turned mad, and others, we've lost them, especially in our home. We have had a lot of malaria problems. Even after one has been treated, they still fall ill of malaria after a few months.
Malaria kills about 500,000 people a year. Almost all of them are in Africa. Most of them are children. Progress in fighting the disease had stalled in the poorest communities in recent years. The WHO says the vaccine can change that. Its development was started by the US military and taken over by British drug maker GlaxoSmithKline. But the trials show it's only effective in preventing about a third of cases. Dr. Bernard Zagutu, who worked on the research project, says that's enough to make a big difference.
A number of the vaccines that we have used for long didn't have a very high efficacy, but had a lot of public health impact. And that's what is going to happen with this vaccine, even what we are seeing as a modest efficacy of 30%. But the impact in terms of lives and clinical malaria cases averted runs into millions.
It's mosquitoes that carry malaria. After biting one infected person, they carry the parasite to another. Here at the Kenya Medical Research Institute, they've spent years studying every stage of the process. And the researchers working here say the approval of one vaccine opens the doors for more. These are mosquito eggs. Thousands of mosquitoes are being bred here every week. They're crucial for the research. The scientists are using the adult mosquitoes to try and develop a new kind of vaccine that would completely stop the mosquitoes from being able to transmit malaria. Scientists say preventing mosquito bites with bed nets and insecticides has been effective, but only up to a point. The vaccines are affordable and can be integrated into existing inoculation programs. Bringing down the malaria deaths in Africa will now depend on finding funding for the tens of millions of doses required every year. Malcolm Webb, Al Jazeera, Nairobi, Kenya.
Before we end the news, a quick recap of our main headlines. President Barrow visits Kanilai. Special Representative of UN Secretary General meets President Barrow. National Council for Arts and Culture finishes 5-day training on museum management and oral history. On the international scene, Pfizer seeks US COVID vaccine approval for children aged 5 to 11. Croatia greets Romania illegally posting refugees back. Kenyan researchers celebrate WHO approval of new malaria vaccine. That's all for this edition of the news. Do join us next week for more news. Please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.